To most people, Julia Sand was a nobody. I mean, she was an invalid. She never left her own bedroom. All she did all day was read newspapers about the politics of New York City. But to one man, she was his inspiration and his conscience. Chester Arthur started out his career very idealistic. In fact, the very first case he ever took to court was defending a black woman who rode on the wrong part of a segregated streetcar in New York City. But soon his people skills and his talent for bureaucracy got him pulled into the New York Republican machine, and very rife in corruption and bribery, and pretty soon he worked his way all the way up to the top. Now, when Garfield was running for president, they needed New York's support, and so they said, well, the boss of New York is a guy by the name of Conkling, and his right-hand man is Chester Arthur. So let's give him the VP. He can't do any damage there. People had very low estimates of Arthur's character. Well, just a few months into Garfield's term, he's shot. And one of the crazy things the assassin says right before he shoots him is, now Arthur's gonna be president. Bam! And shoots him. And Arthur's horrified. I mean, like, he did not want anything to happen to Garfield. He thought he'd just have a nice, easy job as a VP. But now he's probably going to be president, and everyone in America is saying this is the worst thing that could happen. I mean, Garfield was gonna like clean up the corruption, and Arthur is the epitome of corruption. This is terrible. And then Arthur started getting letters from Julia Sand. I want to read you just a little bit of one that she wrote him. There's a quote in the newspaper where someone said, "Making a man president cannot change him." And she writes him this: "Making a man president can change him. At a time like this, if anything can, that can. Great emergencies awaken generous traits which have lain dormant half a life. If there is a spark of true nobility in you, now is the occasion to let it shine." And she would write him these letters of encouragement. You see, she had been following his political career his whole life. She read about his first trial and all the things that he had done, and somehow she saw something in him that no one else saw, a spark of goodness. And I believe she saw a spark of goodness that even Arthur didn't see in himself. But when he became president, he changed. Conkling, his former boss, came to him and he was ready. All right, we're going to put all of our men in the key places and make a ton of dough. And Chester Arthur said, no, we're not making any changes to the appointments Garfield made. And Conkling was furious. Later, Chester said, I owed my vice presidency to Conkling, but I owe my presidency to God Almighty. Conkling hated Arthur for the rest of his life. And Arthur put into place reforms that created what is now the civil service. Even though no one really knows who he is, the way the government runs now with the bureaucracy, which a lot of people don't like, but it puts qualified professionals in place to run our government instead of, hey, my brother, he's going to run it, and this guy who gave me some money, let's give him a job. Who cares if they're even qualified? He set the stage to eliminate the corruption that he was the symbol of. And a big reason was because of the letters that he was getting from this lady. In fact, one day during his presidency, he stopped by and visited her. I mean, can you imagine? There's a knock at the door and someone peeks in and says, Julia, the president's here to see you. And he sat beside her bed and they had a nice little chat. And I don't know what he said, but I'm sure he thanked her for those letters. At the end of his life, when he was dying, and he was a very alone, lonely kind of man because his wife had died years before, and the reformers that he actually did a lot of political stuff for never quite trusted him. And his old corrupt friends, well, they completely rejected him. And so he really lost a lot by doing the right thing. And at the end of his life, he asked that most of his papers be burned. But he said, no. All the letters from Miss Sand must be saved. See, those letters, they changed him. Now you might look at yourself and say, I have no influence in the world. But this invalid, this woman who had no political connections, all she had was a piece of paper, a pen, and a postage stamp. She influenced the President of the United States. She saw in him the goodness. And he said, you know what? If she sees it in me, I'm going to be that good man. Everyone had given up on Chester Arthur except for Julia Sand, and her belief in him changed his presidency. You have that same power. The words you text, or the words you post, or the words you mail, or the words you say on the phone or face-to-face with someone have the ability to lift them up or crash them down. There's so many trolls in social media. There's so much hate in the news, and it's so easy to be vitriolic and bitter and just blow people down. But it's noble to lift people up. Even the craziest, most corrupt, worst person for America has goodness in them. I want to end today by reading a letter that Julia wrote to him. But I want you to think about her writing to you instead. This isn't to Chester Arthur, this is to you. She says to him, your name is now on the annals of history. You cannot slink back into obscurity. 100 years from now, schoolboys will recite your name in the list of presidents. And what will they say? It is for you to choose whether your record will be written in black or gold. If you're alive, you've got a gift, and that gift is today. Will the actions of today be written in black or gold? She goes on to say, for the sake of your country, for your own sake, for the sakes of all who've ever loved you, let it be pure and bright. God believes in you. And he gave you the gift of today and the breath in your lungs and the beating of your heart because he believes you can write something today that will shine in gold, that will be pure and bright. It doesn't matter what mistakes you've made in the past. It doesn't matter how corrupt your past is. What matters is how you face today. You might owe something to someone bad, but you owe God your life. Give it to him and shine today. Share this video with someone who needs some encouragement, who needs to be reminded to do something bright. And I challenge you to use your words to build someone up. God bless.